Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai 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 Jai Ram. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. This morning we were thinking what would have motivated Papa to compose this song, sorry, poem called I Find Him Everywhere. So immediately another thought came. There is one sloga in the 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Probably that could be the instrumental cause. Bahirandascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatvad tad avijneyam purastam cha chantike chatad. Without and within all beings, the unmoving and also the moving, because of its subtlety and knowable, the near and far away is that. The all-pervasiveness of the principle of consciousness, the Almighty Lord of the universe, is indicated here in the inimitable style borrowed from the Upanishads. The conscious principle, the Lord of the universe, that bursts itself into activity at the very various individualized equipments, is all-pervading and therefore in an unmanifest condition. That's why we say acharam, insentient. It is present even where no special equipment is available. Even though we can listen to our national radio broadcast only through available receiving sets, we cannot say that there is none of those electrical sound waves in places where there are no receiving sets. At the time of this preparation, there are no TV, only radios. Where there is a body, mind, intellect ready to function, there no doubt is the expression of consciousness. But consciousness is all pervading, not only within the equipment, but even outside it. The phrase quoted can also be interpreted as without the beings and yet within them also. Something like this. The ocean is without the waves and is something other than the waves, and yet the very mass of each wave is nothing but the ocean itself, moving and unmoving. All that moves of its own volition is alive, and that which has no motion falls under the category of inert. This phrase also is sometimes explained as unmoving and yet moving, wherein the truth in its absolute nature, though motionless, there is no place where it can move, since it is all, yet conditioned by the thing moving it, looks as though it has movement. Sitting in a bus, you can travel a long distance. Yourself only sitting. The bus travels. And therefore, in yourself, there is no motion. But you, conditioned by the bus, are the traveler. Eh? Chimyanti. There is an eternal, all perfect principle reveling at the very core of our personality, which is not only within, but which is everywhere, without which no activity is ever possible. And even in activity, it is manifested. And yet, how is it that we are not able to perceive it, or feel it, or intellectually comprehend it? The stanza is replying because of its subtlety, incomprehensible. The grosser the thing, the more perceptible it is. Earth can be smelled, can be tasted, can be seen, can be heard. Water cannot be smelled. Fire cannot be tasted. Air cannot be seen. Space has only sound as its property. And we know it is very difficult for many of us even to comprehend the subtlest of the gross things, Akasha. Cause is always subtler than the effect. Space itself being a gross product must have a cause. That which is the cause of Akasha is the eternal substratum from which the entire elements are compared to the Almighty. Because at least we can conceive, This is inconceivable as well. Taking from stage to stage, earth is possible, you can see. From there, subtler, 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 subtler. In short, the stanza, in its staggering beauty of contradiction, shakes the reader from his intellectual complacency and bids him to sit up and reflect, realize that the absolute reality is at once transcendent and immanent, far and yet near. So that could be one of the reasons. And we will again read Papa's poem first. One more thing. Why every time they repeat, same thing? He says in another stanza, even very intelligent man would need repeated consolation when he is extremely agitated by dire emotion. One who identifies with one's outward personality and behaves as a finite mortal cannot, in one's life of agitation and sorrow, easily comprehend and appreciate that one is, in essential nature, the infinite, the divine. Spiritual truths are to be often repeated again and again by the teacher until the student's rebellious intellect comes to apprehend them sufficient. Because every time you will say, yeah, it was very nice, but the rebellious nature of the intellect will not allow it to get registered. It will shift its priority to something else. So that is why it is hammering, hammering, hammering. He could have, we have found, he has mentioned this in the speaks, that means it has come from the letters. Why even in Inquest of God, we will first read it. Spiritual truths have to be often repeated again and again until the student's rebellious intellect comes to comprehend them sufficiently. Feeding the little children by their parents in Indian homes is a typical example. The mother will have to coax the child repeatedly until sufficient food reaches its belly. Similarly, spiritual ideas will have to be repeated many a time until the logic of them sinks into their understanding and therein crystallize themselves to become our own personal conviction. That is the same is repeated, repeated, repeated. So Papa here says, I find my God in fields, hills, and dales, in workshop, school, office, and marketplace, in plains and forests, in the grazing herd of cows, in home, hospital, and in power plants, in huts and palaces, in halls of assemblies, in temples, churches, and mosques, in solitudes and caves, in graveyards and cremation ground. I see him in the sky above and the earth below, in the waters of the lakes and the ocean vast, in the slow and swift running streams, in trains, in cars, in aeroplanes, as well in gentle moving bullock carts. I behold him awake, asleep, dreaming, in birth, in life, in death. I find him at all times, in all places, in all states. My God is everywhere and everything. He alone is, there is none but He. So in this poem, he connects himself to the different facets of manifestation. Different manner. So we start thinking, why? As we said earlier, not to limit the God dimension to a particular place, particular object of worship, particular place of worship, particular occasions. That is what we all do unknowingly. So Papa wants us to break that fence we have built within ourselves, otherwise called conceptual presence. So to break that, he tries to bring everything before us. And we find in immediately after his itinerant tour, when he came back to the Panchapandava cave in Mangalore, during the outpourings, he has mentioned, whatever thou doest, Ram, thou doest in the best. Ramdas is entirely thine. Thou doest make him walk, talk, think, act, all as thou wilt. He has not to feel sorry or regret for anything. He dwells in thee always. He can see thee, Ram, everywhere. Thou alone has taken the form of this universe. Now you see this. Thou alone has taken the form of this universe. This vast picturesque varied group of worlds. Oh, what grand display is thine! Of what a sublime manifestation! The vast sheets of water, the mighty ocean like molten silver, bearing in their bosom a variety of animal lives of their own creation. They are all thyself. O extensive sky, what a magnificent structure is thine! A limitless blue dome, pictured here and there with fantastic shaped white fleecy clouds, sustaining in her mighty embrace innumerable creatures of her own making. O earth, whose unseen circumference vainly attempts to measure the bounds of the sky that appears to clasp thee. What an indescribable scene thou doest present to the wondrous grace of the sun, the moon, the stars, that are never tired of viewing thy beauties at ever changing altitudes. Thy valleys are full of green verdure, sparkling water running through them all. Thy high mountains are shooting up into the sky, those gigantic guardians of thy peace. The widespread forests, green and yellow hued, from thy beautiful garment, in the loving folds of which thou bringest into being untold variety of lives. O Ram, destroy Ramdas's desires, crush them out of him, take him on and find the eternal abode in thee. O madness of Ram, O love, let harshness, wrath, and desire leave Ramdas entirely. Pure, pure be his mind by thy grace, Ram. Save him, O Ram. Thou art love pervading everywhere. Ram, 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 everywhere. In, out, in all directions, up, below, in the air, trees, earth, water, sky, space, in all is Ram. Is love, O love. O Ram, let thrill after thrill of the joy of thy love pass through the soul of Ramdas. O Ram, O joy, O love, O ecstasy, O madness, O goodness, no rest, no sleep, no food, no enjoyment, but thy divine love, divine light. O joy, Ramdas remains steeped in the nectar of Ram's infinite love. O light, dazzle on. O flashes of lightning. O Ram's glory, flash on, flash on. O supreme happiness, O bliss, O joy, come on, O Ram. Ramdas is lost in thee, lost in joy, in bliss untold, indescribable, lost in thy effulgence, in thy light. Flash, flash, flash. Everywhere flash. Love, love, love. Everywhere love. dancing. He couldn't contain himself. So that is how the whole concept of taking us nearer to him through his manifestation. Normally, this is something most untraditional. Normally, we concentrate more and more on the traditional way of approach, concentrating on the words expressed in the scriptures, and the Mahatmas give their own commentaries. They share their experience. But here we find Papa is making for us an effort to make us connect with God in different forms, so that we don't put up a barrier between spiritual and mundane. This has to be taken note of. Everywhere he tries to bring in this. And nature, just imagine. Hills and dales and field, before we go into that. Generally about the nature, Mother Nature. What all they teach us. In everyone's house, whatever may be the limitation, at least you will have one flower pot, one tulsi. Nowadays, we are told even in metro cities on the terrace they grow vegetables. Wherever you find a greenery, what wells up in your mind? When we travel, when we are through a vehicle, when both roads are covered by shade trees, forming a canopy, how much we all enjoy. When we pass through forest areas, village areas, when we see extensive paddy field, when we see extensive, forests, what wells up in our mind? Everybody is happy, universally happy, whether it is child or grown up. Landscape, the beauty. We cannot explain. Suddenly now we realize because there is an inner alignment that is taking place. He is there in the form of nature, Mother Nature, and he connects us with his outer manifestation. We hardly notice. Again, our thought comes, we discuss something, we deny ourselves of the wonderful messages he gives. Here are a few words which will throw light whenever we happen to pass through, even in ashram. Every day we are seeing so many trees, flowers, Every day, almost every day, we look at the Panchavati hill. There is a joy welling up. Let us see. Kindly hear this. They teach us stillness first. How to bend with the wind. How to bend with the wind, patience, and strength. When we are open to the lessons, Mother Nature can teach us everything we really need to know. Spend some time this year seeking nature's hidden treasures. Listen to her messages and lessons. It will transform your life. People spend so much of money, travel to far off places, stay in a resort. They stay very near an ocean or in the midst of a park or a jungle, Just imagine why. Many people come from north, from different countries. They go to Wayanad, they go to Coorg. Why? Greeneries are there. Spend some time seeking nature's hidden treasures and listening to her messages and lessons. It will transform your life. It is funny thing about nature. We talk about reconnecting with it, like we are not part of it and it is not part of us. Actually, it's a part of us. That is why we like it. The truth is, we are nature. It is just that many of us have forgotten this and see it as something separate from ourselves. Some work tirelessly trying to help nature. Others seem hell bent on destroying it. Few take the time to really watch and listen and discover nature's hidden treasures and lessons. Some of those who do listen and observe share the lessons through wonderful, wise words. Those words have been paired with some homegrown pictures of the earth. Like a caring and nurturing mother, nature shows us every day how to live the life to the fullest. When we are open to those lessons, our lives are transformed. We learn to see the bigger picture and throw off the very human emotions of stress, loneliness, and depression. A beautiful flower plant, when we try to grow in a pot, every day, suppose you are a lover, you will see it growing. And when the bud comes, you are elated. The bud opens as if you are seeing it for the first time. And when it blossoms, and after 2 days, when it fades, when it gets dropped, these are the lessons. Bring out your efficiency, fully expose it. Because it is born, it has to have an end. The plant doesn't cry, it doesn't make a fuss, but it doesn't compromise on the quality A plus. So these are all the lessons. One of the most important, consistent lesson nature teaches is how very connected everything is. That means that every action we take will create a ripple effect impact, everything else, whether we see it or not. Like branches on a tree, we all grow in different directions. Our roots remain as one. Just as a loving mother provides her children with all they need and tries to make their world comfortable and beautiful, nature selflessly shares her bounty and surrounds us with beauty. Earth laughs in flowers. It could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. If we could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. Every time the wind blows, it is singing you a song of the Creator. Every time a flower blossoms, it is bringing you a message from the higher law. Every time you hear the ocean, it beats against the shore and recedes in musical rhythm. It is speaking to your soul, a voice from nature, verily a voice from God. When we go and sit in the beach, these are all taking place. But unfortunately, we are not, we are enjoying it, we are not enjoying it. The magnitude and the grandeur of these things, the possibilities folded with them, this can be truly sensed only in the silence. When you go and sit there, silently watch the ocean, the waves, its sound, the different shapes of the waves, how they come in chronological order, and the sound it produces. When it comes, you are on the shore, it touches your feet and goes back. And as they reach, it is full of joy. There will be bubbles, the white milky bubble, as if it is smiling. We can take it in any way. It is infinite. We cannot see the end. All those things can be realized when we sit silently and observe. Similarly is the tree. Similarly is the flower. Similarly is the hills and dales. Hills and dales, he says. Our love for viewing hills and dales comes out just like that. Nobody taught us to love and admire. Even a photograph or a painting gives us joy, and we adorn our walls with the same. Just wonder why this natural feeling towards the scenic beauty. Any painting, see, when we go to what is it? No, in the Uttarakhand, we used to go Almora. Almora, when we go there, one of the devotees have taken a house for rent. So we all get the privilege of going and staying there once in a way. On the terrace of it every day morning when we go there, we used to anxiously wait for the sun to come. At about 5, 5:30, we are up there. It will be pitch dark. We'll be walking. Then as the sun slowly goes, we will try to see the Himalayas, the icy Himalaya, and the different shapes, whether it is Omkar Parvat or this Parvat or that Parvat. Every day, like a child, we used to go. And not only that, we call, suppose somebody is staying, immediately we show them. There is a thrill. And whenever we go and see a photograph taken, yeah, the others have taken the photo. And to see that photograph, still, by itself, it doesn't do anything, but it does a lot. What is that alignment taking? That silence. Just ponder over why natural feeling towards the scenic beauty. Otherwise, if we see it as an object, no, finished. As soon as we are away from it, we are disconnected. Papa wants, hills and dales, that word. Dales are valleys, hills are high and low of life. Immediately when you are there, when you see the hills and the dales, suddenly he teaches life is like this. All are beautiful. The so-called high, the so-called low. And both of them make the life life. We hardly notice that. Each hill is different in shape. All are beautiful, but all are not same. Just start watching and remain still, static, serene, sthita prajna, unaffected, unconditioned. The stillness, now we start thinking. Utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from all thoughts. It is in the stillness that we know and realize God. So that is the alignment that takes place when we see this. Eyes enjoy the values from the top level. No? Then we don't see it as down. No? Mountains help us to scale the heights. Even the rock hoisting, as somebody beautifully pointed out, it is reminding us that we have to scale the heights. Then only it will be flattering. So it reminds, hey, you have to scale the heights. You don't stand where you are. Firm. It is not vacillating. It stands tall. Be firm and stand tall. Panoramic view, all comprehensive perspective, get the total picture. Suppose when we go to Arunachala by road, as we near Tiruvannamalai, we can see the great Arunachala. From there, we start thinking. It is connecting up when you are passing through Palni, for example. Any mountain, especially if we attach something extra to it, you find it is an ordinary mountain. Arunachala means it's an ordinary mountain like any other mountain. But this mountain, all mountains are forms of wish. As all human beings are forms of God, Mahatmas easily attract us, They draw our attention. Similarly, when we have been told that Arunachala is closely associated with Bhagavan Ramana, immediately the whole thing connects up. So you are not seeing an ordinary mountain there. And then all these attributes, the stillness, the tallness, the static aspect, everybody can enjoy that. It becomes very, very, very clear. Start thinking. Why Papa mentioned hills and dales? Another aspect is it suddenly makes us humble. When we look at it, we can see, where are we and where is the mountain? What a majestic, gigantic form it is. Reaching the top makes mountain lavishly, allows the mountaineer feel bigger and grow, gives him or her a sense of achievement. It provides an opportunity. There are many. Mountaineering is also one of the sports now. A lot of training is necessary. For mountaineering, you need a mountain. And what all it teaches us, as you reach for a split second, there is a joy. But the whole thing is that preparation, that going, and what do alertness, focused attention, perseverance, patience, and always thinking about God. Those who have been associated with the traditional form of worship of God. Otherwise, they will be praying in some form. And gives you a certain self-confidence. That is the first one which makes you to take up mountaineering. Think about it. How through so many values, so many things he kindles by appearing before us as a hill and dales. It is not merely a scenic beauty, untold messages. First of all is that stillness, available to everybody, whether he is a believer, non-believer, admirer, non-admirer, a casual visitor, a casual looker, a serious mountaineer, a serious lover of nature. Everybody is Stita Prajna there. No extra emotion is exhibited. Even if we don't recognize, even if we recognize, if we say, oh, wonderful, if we don't say anything, we stand before it and look at it. Say, that is why in good old days, many of them prefer to recede from the activities and retire to such places, caves on the footstep. You might be remembering even Papa was inspired to lose himself in Nilkant Parvat. When we go through in the vision of God, you will find how behind our Anandashram, behind the Sargashram, there is even today, it is a Nilakanta hill is there. Papa elaborately explains how he was wanted to take up that challenge on those days in 1920s, and where he wanted to lose himself. Throughout, when we go through the narratives in Himalayas of Papa, and then another saint by name Tapovanji Maharaj, he has written a book, Himagiri Vihar, Wandering in the Himalayas. Everywhere he will see only that book. In that book, you will see how you will not see nature as nature, you will see nature as God. How everything enthuses him. Even today, with apparently no such background. Inherently it is there. Apparently no such background. Apparently it may be a tourist background. People go to Amarnath, people go to Mount Kailas, eh? Manasaro, it is not that easy. It is not the question of spending money. Why? Apparently, they may not be able to align themselves on these lines, but it is inherently it is there. That is why they go. Kedarnath, Badrinath, from one hill to another hill, one hill to another hill. We were told when Swami Vivekananda was touring in Alps mountains, he told one of his friends who were accompanying him, locate something like this in Himalayas. There I would like to go and spend some time. I made him casual mention. But the other man took it seriously. He came and he toured all over and finally located his Mayavati, where there was an estate, tea estate or something, of a Britisher. He bought it, same old building. where Swami Vivekananda was very particular, no photos, no images, nothing. One with nature. That because he was enthused when he went to the Alp Mounts. Even now, it's a beautiful place. The old structure is still maintained, but along with that, so many things have come under the Ramakrishna Mutt. There is one photo there, and we were told Swami Vivekananda later came and stayed for 12 days. When he saw the photo, he said, "Oh, the old man is still here also." No? Somebody, was saying, at least one photo of Bhagavan Ramakrishna Paramahamsa should be there. He wanted to become one with it, not to limit Bhagavan to that particular photo. Just like every day we read, we should not limit Papa to the Bhajan Hall, Samadhi Mandir, and Anandashram. They stand for the universal truth. So, through nature, it is very easy. Even today, I look from the Mayavati to any sides, it is thrilling. Expansive Himalayas are there. They spotted the place. Beautiful. So why we mention all these things? That it is not that we are enjoying a scenic beauty. We are aligning ourselves unknowingly. Papa wants that alignment to be done consciously. Then it is not a tourist perspective. Then it is not an enjoyment of the nature. Then it is not a nature lover's experience, but it is a real spiritual. When he says hills and dales, especially when we tour, when we go through such areas, valleys are down. Even in Kashmir, when we go, when we travel, you can find that from Jammu to Srinagar. Different places where you find valleys and valleys and valleys. And wherever Wayanad has become suddenly, we were all in Wayanad. Most of our working years, our childhood days were all spent in Wayanad. Wayanad is a gifted land. It's beautiful, scenic beauty everywhere. Everywhere, when we suppose we are staying at the top of the hill, every day we enjoy the same thing. We were staying in a place where alone, in the mid, one side it is tea estate, one side it is coffee estate. Every day morning, after taking our coffee and everything, we go for a walk. Same place, but viewing the whole thing from that mountains, hills, lakes, tea estates. 1 hour, we don't know how the time goes. At that time, we did not know much. Why? There is something, some inexplicable feeling wells up. What is that feeling wells up? We were unable to decipher until we started reading Papa's. Where he says, he is there, and he is there. So an alignment takes place. This is why you are not bored. Otherwise, you will get bored. Drudgery or boredom you will never feel. Because every day you are renewing, refreshing your own inherent nature. It is reflected on a hill or a day or days. So whenever we pass through, kindly think about it. This was the first in the poem. This is the first line: hills and dales. We'll again go through that so that before we go to the field tomorrow. So they teach us stillness, how to bend with the wind, patience, and strength. When we are open to the lessons, Mother Nature can teach us everything we really need to know. Spend some time seeking nature's hidden treasures and listening to her messages and lessons. It will transform your life. First one is expansive. You become humble. You cannot produce a flower like that. Oh. You can arrogate that you can do this, you can do that. But a tiny little flower in a tiny little plant, when it comes, it's such magnificence. Suddenly you become, oh, hand to the Creator. So he's a hidden message. We all talk about reconnecting with it like we are not part of it, as it is not part of us. The truth is, we are nature. We are ourselves nature. And of course, you can say part of the nature. What is inherent here is inherent there. Omnipresence, omniscient, omnipotent, consciousness absolute, fullness absolute. There is nothing that limits and says me, me, me. It is just that many of us have forgotten and see it as something separate from ourselves. Some work tirelessly to help nature. Others seem hell-bent on destroying it. Few take the time to really watch and listen and discover nature's hidden treasures and lessons. When we went to Vasanta Vihar in Chennai, stayed there for 2-3 days, where J. Krishnamurti, spent some time, and all his teachings are there. There we came to know that J.K. used to spend a lot of time in forests, whether it is in Britain, whether it is in India, whether it is in America, conversing with, in our language, nature, conversing with God, power. He doesn't feel lonely. Behind our Anandashram, there is a Manchapati hill. Local people have somehow been blessed with the opportunity to build a small temple dedicated to Lord Anjaneya. Nowadays, so many people go because of the lockdown. It's not there. When you go there, we used to go every day or from previously. To go there and sit there and view the whole thing. See the Arabian Sea far off. And the entire surroundings. Where we find only, trees. And sunset is beautiful there. Every day we go. We spend some time. With families, people go there now. Now there is a motorable road, so people all go there after the temple has come. We have seen when we go there, people go and sit on the top. 99% of them will be silent. Oh, every day we used to go for a walk. Because to reach there and see the whole expanse, you can converse with him. How beautiful it is there. Yes, one more thing we have to learn. is today, there is no disorder in the world. Everything is as it should be. So when we place ourselves on the platform, on the top level, and when we see everything, we won't find anything bad. No dirt, no disorderly. Everything is first class, like what we see from the aircraft. It gives us, how orderly everything. The more that also teaches, the more you lift yourself to a higher level, the more you enjoy, the more you go down to the lower level, you find so many inequalities, so many things, incompatibilities, so many things that you are not comfortable with. Yes, mountain, they teach us this wonderful. So it is not mountaineering. It is not, we are just enjoying. Whenever now you happen to drive through any place, just watch. You don't have to go to even uh, forest or everywhere you will find something. God is there before us. Unsurpassing beauty, Papa, that word. Look at it, read in it. The glorious aspect of it. What are those words? Nature. We have the magnificent book of nature spread out before us, a picture of unsurpassing beauty and charm, the spontaneous and blissful self-expression of the indwelling God. These are the words that motivated us to do some plumbing. Indwelling God, yes. It is because of him the so-called I exist. But here the Master says, the same indwelling God is there now. We have the magnificent book of nature spread out before us, a picture of unsurpassing beauty and charm, the spontaneous and blissful expression of the indwelling God. Let us look at it, read in it the glorious presentation and the varied activity of the beloved. In what all shapes you come, in what all characteristics you come. There will be thorns, there will be flowers, there will be, when you pass through certain areas in Himalayas, only pine trees. And the yellow flower that will be there as a carpet on the ground. Something beautiful, as if somebody has done it. Nobody can do it. Unsurpassing beauty and charm. The spontaneous, blissful self-expression of the indwelling God. Let us look at it, read in it the glorious presentation, the varied activity of the beloved. Look on the infinite play of the infinite one, and by deep absorption into the beloved, enjoy immortal joy. This is the goal. All else is ephemeral, not worth striving for. When we go to the beach, when we go to a mountain area, there is a place near Bombay, we conducted camps also. Everywhere there will be some places like this. And why do people go there? Previously, we thought it is calm and quiet. That the first reaction comes. The calm and quiet area. Means what? There is an alignment taking place. The calmness who is there within you and the calmness outside. That is why you are in position to enjoy. The Mataji says, if there is greatness in you, the greatness you will see in others. That is original nature, sir. That is our original nature. Original nature. That is our original nature, calmness and quietude. That is why everybody likes calmness and quietude. We are attributing to an outside cause, that's all. That's why in the first he said, we are nature. At the moment, we can say part and parcel of the stupendous whole, WHOL. A lot of reflection will enable us to make us move towards Him, nearer towards Him. Again, we are reminded of the 4 steps which Papa says out of his experience. First, we should feel His nearness. Then we should try to feel His presence. That will lead us to see Him everywhere. And finally, paving the way to become one with everyone. So the nearness, it is not limited to a particular place, particular object, particular play, a particular situation. No. Initially, yes. Then let us try to get over that expansion of Brihat. The word Brahman came from that word Brihat. Expands. So, hills and dales enable us to align ourselves with our original nature, which comes there in a palpable form, in a tangible form, where we can connect. Tomorrow we will try to take up the field. So every day now, you just watch now, he made us to think about in terms of akshara, then sound, shabda, then he took us home, then the breathing, then the school, yesterday workshop, in between the body, and today hills and dales. Just imagine. They are all normally termed as external objects. Papa is trying to erase from our mind the attitude of separating us. Everywhere you try to see him, try to see him, try to see him. He enjoyed it. He shared with us. There are about 25 to 30 articles of his. We have called it as musings, where, he dances literally. He couldn't contain himself. The finite is trying to become one with the infinite, or the infinite tied down in a finite one wants to somehow come out of it. Yeah, that would be the right expression. The infinite reality, which is locked down in a finite place called the body, mind, intellect, when it realizes the infinitude, tries to get out of it and grasp the infinitude through finite words. And those are called the musings. With that bhavana, when we go through that, we all get, inspired. We don't know what to use the word. Something, makes us to expand our, get out of the fencing which we have put on ourselves. These are all his poem is instrumental, his quotation is instrumental in breaking the fence we have put on ourselves. And ultimately, we are sure Papa will one day remove the fence and make us one with him. Hariyo. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram.